All right, get ready because today we're going deep into the world of corporate law.
Deep.
But not just the legal theories. We're talking about how to really nail that job interview. You've got big goals, right? And we've got the inside scoop from RoleCatcher,
Yes,
which is a platform that's just got tons of career resources.
absolutely.
So think of this deep dive like your secret weapon to totally wow those hiring partners.
Yeah, it's a competitive field, so being prepared is key.
For sure.
One thing that's interesting is how much emphasis is placed on
Okay.
not just knowing the law, but also like showing that you really get the business world too.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Well, and speaking of what they do,
you're right.
RoleCatcher's Guide really gets into what a corporate lawyer actually does every day. You're not just like, reading through old law books.
Right.
You're advising businesses on all sorts of things.
Yeah, taxes, intellectual property, international trade,
Mergers.
mergers, huge.
It's a big deal.
It's high stakes, fast paced, and has a direct impact on a company's success.
Talk about pressure.
Well, yeah, there's definitely pressure, but that's part of what makes it exciting.
I can see that.
You're right at the forefront of the business world, Helping companies navigate these complex legal landscapes and make those really important strategic decisions.
Okay, so let's say you've gotten that interview.
Right,
How do you really make sure you stand out from everybody else?
right.
Well, RoleCatcher's got some sample questions that hiring managers often ask. And the first one is, what made you interested in pursuing a career as a corporate lawyer?
Okay, so with this one, you want to go beyond just a generic answer like, oh, I've always loved law.
Yeah, I've always been interested in law.
Right, exactly. Think about what really drew you to corporate law specifically.
Okay.
Was it a particular case that you read about? Were you just fascinated by how businesses work?
Yeah.
Maybe even a personal experience that sparked your interest? I think the key here is to be genuine and show that you've really put some thought into this career path.
So, for example, if someone was inspired by, say, like a high-profile merger
Yeah.
that made headlines, they could talk about how that sparked their interest in, like, the strategic and legal complexities of those kinds of deals.
Absolutely. It shows that you're engaged with, like, how corporate law works in the real world, not just giving textbook answers.
Yeah, you're not just regurgitating what you learned.
Right.
And this is where RoleCatcher's AI tools can really come in handy.
Definitely.
Because their platform lets you actually practice answering these questions
Amazing.
and then get personalized feedback, like tailored to the specific company or firm that you're interviewing with.
It's like having a virtual coach who knows exactly what those hiring managers are looking for.
Wow.
And you can even record video responses
Oh, wow.
and get feedback on your delivery, which is so important for making a good first impression.
That's incredible. So you're not just getting like generic advice.
Right.
You're getting targeted feedback to really nail that specific interview.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So moving on to another common question.
Okay.
What, in your opinion, are the most important qualities for a successful corporate lawyer?
All right, so this is where you want to highlight those essential skills.
Like analytical thinking, attention to detail,
Yes.
communication, negotiation.
You got it, but don't just list them out.
Okay.
Back them up with concrete examples.
Oh, I see.
So instead of just saying like, I'm a great communicator,
Right.
talk about a time when you had to explain complex legal concepts to a client and you did it well, or when you successfully negotiated a difficult contract.
So show, don't tell.
Exactly.
And I love how RoleCatcher's AI can actually analyze your responses.
Yes.
And then it suggests ways to make them even stronger. Like, for example, it might recommend adding specific metrics or quantifiable results to your examples,
that's good.
which can really impress those hiring managers.
It's all about showcasing your value and demonstrating how your skills actually translate into tangible results.
Okay.
Now, this next question can be a little tricky.
Okay.
How do you stay up to date with changes in laws and regulations that might impact your clients?
Yes. Because the legal landscape is always changing.
Always changing. You can't just rely on what you learned back in law school.
Definitely not.
Hiring managers want to see that you're proactive and committed to continuous learning.
Okay.
So mention specific publications you read, industry events you go to, or professional organizations you're a part of.
So you could talk about attending a recent conference on data privacy,
Perfect.
or being an active member of a bar association committee that focuses on a specific area of law.
That's a great example. It shows that you're not just keeping up, but you're staying ahead of the curve.
Okay.
And RoleCatcher's AI can even help tailor your responses to the specific industry or area of law that the firm focuses on.
That's awesome.
So if you're interviewing with a firm that specializes in like mergers and acquisitions, the AI might suggest mentioning publications or events related to that field.
Oh, so smart.
Yeah, it's all about showing them that you're genuinely interested in their work and that you've really taken the time to understand their needs.
This is all making a lot more sense now.
Good.
Okay, but what about those questions that kind of dig a little deeper
Right.
into your experience, those behavioral questions?
The behavioral questions. Yeah, RoleCatcher's Guide has some of those too.
Okay, perfect, because those are designed to really assess your problem-solving skills,
Exactly.
your ability to handle pressure, and just your overall approach to those challenging situations.
For example, they might ask you, can you describe a complex legal issue you've dealt with in the past and how you resolved it?
Okay, so this is your chance to shine.
Yeah.
So pick a situation that shows off your analytical abilities and your problem-solving skills.
For sure.
Of course, maintaining confidentiality.
Of course, you don't want to name names or give away any sensitive info.
Right, just focus on the process, like how you identify the issue, analyze all the options, and then ultimately reach the solution.
And just like a good story, make sure there's a satisfying resolution.
Ooh, I like that.
You want to highlight the positive outcome and what you learned from that experience.
It's like telling a mini legal thriller, but with you as the hero.
Exactly. And again, RoleCatcher's AI can help here.
Oh, good.
It can analyze your response and suggest ways to make it even more compelling and impactful.
So helpful. It's like having a personal editor for your interview answers.
Totally. All right, let's move on to a question that tests your organizational skills and how you handle multiple priorities.
Okay.
How do you balance the needs of multiple clients with competing demands?
Classic juggling act of a corporate lawyer.
It definitely can be tricky.
I bet.
So they want to see how you prioritize tasks, how you manage your time effectively, and just how you ensure that all your clients' needs are being met.
Right.
So talk about your organizational systems, the tools you use, and your general approach to staying on top of those deadlines.
Okay, so like project management software, maybe a color-coded calendar, or even just a really good to-do list.
Whatever works for you, and don't be afraid to show a little bit of personality here.
Yeah,
If you have a quirky system that helps you stay organized, share it.
I love that.
It'll make you more memorable.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, actually, I think we have time to tackle one more question before we take a break.
We'll do it.
And this one often throws people off.
All right.
How do you handle ethical dilemmas in your work?
Ooh, ethical dilemmas.
Yeah.
Now we're getting to the heart of legal practice.
It's an important question, and they want to see that you have a strong moral compass and a clear process for navigating those tricky situations.
So probably avoid saying, I just do whatever my client tells me to do.
Definitely start by outlining your general approach to ethical considerations.
Okay.
Do you have a personal code of ethics that you follow? Do you consult with colleagues or mentors when you face a dilemma?
Right. It's about showing that you take ethics seriously
Exactly.
and that you have a framework for making those sound decisions.
Exactly. And then share a specific example of an ethical dilemma that you faced before and how you handled it.
Maintaining confidentiality, of course. So maybe a time when you had to weigh competing interests or, when you had to make a tough call that wasn't necessarily easy, but it was the right thing to do.
It's about showing them that you're not just a legal technician, you're a thoughtful and ethical professional who can navigate the complexities of the legal world with integrity.
This is all so insightful. We've covered so much ground already.
We have.
But hold on, we're not done yet. We've got more questions to unpack, more insights from RoleCatcher,
Yeah,
and even more ways that AI can help you ace that interview.
definitely.
Stick around. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Let's jump right back into getting ready for that corporate lawyer interview with the insights we've got from RoleCatcher.
One thing that really stuck out to me in the guide is how much it stresses how important it is to really get a client's business objectives.
Yes.
Like, it's not just about, throwing around legal terms.
Right.
It's about giving strategic advice that actually helps them reach their goals.
Absolutely. In fact, there's a sample question that gets right to this point.
Okay.
How do you make sure that your legal advice is actually in line with your client's business objectives?
Oh, that's a good one.
So this is your chance to show you're not just a walking legal dictionary, but like a real business partner.
Okay, so how would you approach that question?
Well,
Do you start by saying, like, you do a ton of like due diligence and really learn about the client's industry?
That's a great start. Yeah,
Yeah.
show them, how important it is to get all the facts before you give any advice.
Right.
But go a step further. Talk about how you really talk to clients
Okay.
to really get what they need, what risks they're okay with, and what they're hoping to achieve.
So it's about asking good questions and really listening to what they have to say.
Exactly. And I bet RoleCatcher's AI could help you practice saying all that in a way that shows off those client-focused skills.
Oh, that's a good point because it can even give you suggestions on how to tailor your answers to specific industries or types of clients.
It's like having a personal coach just for your target audience.
That's incredible. It takes all the guesswork out of interview prep.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to another question.
Okay.
This one's about the practical stuff.
Well,
How do you build and maintain strong relationships with your clients?
this definitely goes beyond just being good at law.
Yeah, for sure.
Building trust and rapport is key, especially in corporate law, where those long-term relationships are so important.
Right.
So talk about how you communicate, how you can explain tough legal concepts clearly, and how you're always willing to go above and beyond to keep your clients happy.
So being proactive about what they might need,
Yeah.
giving them regular updates, always being there to answer questions.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to let your personality shine through here. If you have a special way of talking to clients,
Yeah,
like sending handwritten thank you notes or having regular check-in calls, share that.
I like that.
It makes you stand out and it shows you really care about building those relationships.
It's like that perfect mix of being professional, but also really connecting with people.
Right.
So RoleCatcher's guide also talks about how important it is to network and connect with people in the legal field.
That's so important. They suggest going to industry events, joining bar associations, and even connecting with people on LinkedIn.
Networking is huge for growing your career,
Yeah.
staying up to date on what's happening in the industry,
Right.
and maybe even landing that perfect job.
Absolutely.
So it's not just what you know, but who you know.
Exactly.
And speaking of knowing things, let's get to another tough question.
Okay.
Can you describe a situation where you had to make a really difficult ethical decision?
The ethics question. This is where they want to see what your moral compass is really made of.
Okay, so what kind of example works best here? Something from your own life or like a made-up scenario?
It's best to use a real-life experience if you can,
Right.
but a well-thought-out hypothetical situation can work too.
Okay.
The key is to really show how you think things through. Walk them through how you spotted the ethical problem, weighed all the different sides, and then made your decision.
And don't shy away from saying it was a hard choice,
Right.
because that shows you're not afraid to deal with tough situations and that you'll do what's right even when it's not easy.
Exactly. And this is where RoleCatcher's AI can be super helpful again.
Okay.
It can look at your answer and tell you if it really shows how you think about ethics and make decisions.
Amazing, like having an ethics professor right there with you.
Totally. Okay, so we've talked about legal skills and ethics, but what about how technology is affecting corporate law?
That's a big one.
It's huge. Technology's changing the legal world so fast, and hiring managers are definitely paying attention.
So RoleCatcher has a whole section on how AI is changing things.
Yeah.
And how people who want to be corporate lawyers can use these tools to get ahead.
It's really interesting.
I'm curious to hear more. What specific AI tools are we talking about?
Well, besides RoleCatcher's own AI-powered prep tools,
Right.
there are AI platforms that help with legal research,
Okay.
analyzing contracts, doing due diligence,
Wow.
and even predicting how cases might turn out.
That's wild.
These tools can save a ton of time, make things more efficient, and give you insights that a person might miss.
So even though AI can seem a little scary,
Right.
it's actually a chance for lawyers to get even better at what they do and help their clients even more.
Exactly. And knowing about these tools and how to use them shows hiring managers that you're forward-thinking and adaptable.
Right. And those are really valuable qualities in the legal world today.
That makes sense. This is also fascinating, but we've covered a lot.
We have.
I think we need to take a quick break and come back to the rest of what RoleCatcher has to offer. Sounds good. We'll be right back to dive into career paths, salary expectations, and even more ways RoleCatcher can help you get that corporate law job you want.
All right, we're back and ready to keep going with our corporate law deep dive with all the insights from RoleCatcher.
Sounds good.
Before the break, we were talking about technology and how AI is shaking things up for lawyers.
It really is fascinating stuff.
It is.
And speaking of shaking things up, RoleCatcher's Guide also gives you a look at the typical career path for a corporate lawyer.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's cool to see how your responsibilities and what people expect from you change as you move up.
So let's talk about that career trajectory.
Okay.
What's it like for someone just starting out in this field?
Well, usually you start as an entry-level associate.
Huh.
You're supporting the senior lawyers doing legal research, writing documents, basically learning the ropes.
Got it.
It's a lot of hard work, but it's a great way to get experience and build your skills.
So it's kind of like an apprenticeship.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you're learning from the pros and getting better under their guidance.
Right, and as you gain experience and show you know what you're doing, you'll start taking on more responsibility, handling your own cases, negotiating contracts, and maybe even supervising newer lawyers.
That makes sense. And imagine with each step up the ladder, the stakes get higher and the challenges get tougher.
You're right about that.
But I guess the rewards get bigger too.
Absolutely. You get more freedom, you have a bigger impact on how well the firm does, and you even get to mentor and guide the next group of corporate lawyers coming up.
It's pretty inspiring to see that path and imagine yourself climbing those ranks.
Yeah.
RoleCatcher's Guide also talks about some ways to stand out and get ahead in such a competitive field. So what are some of the big takeaways there?
One thing they really emphasize is always keep learning and growing professionally.
Okay.
They suggest looking into getting certifications or advanced degrees that can make you an expert in certain areas of corporate law.
So like if someone's interested in mergers and acquisitions, they could go for a specialized LLM or certification in M&A law.
Exactly. It shows you're dedicated to going deeper and staying ahead of the game in a field that's always changing.
Makes sense.
They also talk about how important it is to showcase your expertise by doing things that show you're a thought leader.
Right. So like writing articles, giving presentations at conferences, or even having your own professional website.
Those are all great examples. It helps you build your personal brand and shows that you're not just a good lawyer, but also a valuable resource and contributor to the field.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so speaking of value, we can't forget about salary expectations.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
RoleCatcher gives some advice on how to handle that tricky topic.
They do.
What are their main recommendations?
Well, first, do your research.
Oh, yeah.
Look at what other corporate lawyers with your level of experience are making in your area.
I know your worth?
Exactly. Websites like Glassdoor and Salary.com can be really helpful for that.
Good to know. But it's also important to think about the specific firm or company you're interviewing with, right?
Oh, for sure. A big fancy firm might pay differently than a smaller boutique firm.
That's true. And don't forget to factor in your own skills and experience.
Good point. If you have specialized knowledge or a proven track record, you can definitely ask for a higher salary.
So don't just throw out a number.
Right.
It's better to give a salary range that shows you've done your research and that matches your qualifications.
Exactly. And be ready to explain why you deserve that salary.
Okay.
Highlight your accomplishments, your skills, and what you can bring to the firm.
It's like a mini negotiation right there in the interview.
It kind of is. And remember, it goes both ways. The firm wants to make sure you're a good fit for them, but you want to make sure they're a good fit for you too, including how they handle compensation.
Absolutely. And if the first offer isn't quite what you were hoping for, don't be afraid to negotiate.
Right, but always be professional and respectful. Focus on the value you're bringing to the table.
This whole deep dive has been packed with information.
It has.
We've covered so much, from understanding what a corporate lawyer does to nailing those tough interview questions, navigating the world of AI, and even tackling salary negotiations.
Yeah, it's amazing how much useful stuff RoleCatcher has on their platform.
I feel like I just went through a crash course in corporate law career prep.
They've really thought of everything to help people who want to be corporate lawyers succeed.
They've given us the tools and the know-how to not only ace that interview, but also to really do well in this challenging but rewarding field.
Exactly. So to all those future corporate lawyers out there, remember, success in this field comes from a mix of legal expertise, strategic thinking, adaptability, and a real passion for the business world.
So true. And with the right preparation and guidance, you can face those challenges head on and grab those exciting opportunities that are waiting for you.
Here's one last thing to think about as you start this journey. The legal world is always changing. So how are you going to stay ahead of the curve? Will you embrace new technologies? Seek out mentors and build your network. Really commit to always learning. The choices you make today will shape your career for years to come.
That's a powerful message to end on. And with that, we wrap up another deep dive into a fascinating topic. Thanks for joining us.